watching Falcon Update live on Messiah University's Yellow Breeches Television.
Good evening, I'm Nolan Hogenboom. Tonight we are hosting the very first Splice show live on YBTV. Tonight you'll hear from talented student filmmakers and alumni who have submitted their work for us and get a chance to view their work live right here. Now, Splice Film Festival is nothing new here on campus, but due to COVID-19, we're unable to have a live in-person viewing in Parmer Cinema, so we're screening them tonight. As a bonus, we'll be interviewing the directors for more insight into the process of making their films. So without further ado, we'll start with our first guest, Keegan Hurley, director of the film Tell. How you doing this evening?
Living the dream, Nolan, living the dream.
Aren't we all? Let's get right into it. What inspired you to create the project?
So it was for my film and HD1 production class, and we had to make a short film with, there were parameters surrounding the project, and that everything had to be shot on sticks, which is a tripod, and in black and white. And so as we were searching for ideas, I wanted something that lended itself to that kind of parameters, so the black and white kind of made sense. It wasn't just oh, we shot something and we threw it in black and white. So I reflected on some more of horror themes and thriller themes, and I remember really liking the film, or the short story, The Telltale Heart.
Classic.
And yeah, I went back to it. I was looked around on the internet. There are a ton of people who have already done that. So I was oh, this is great. It's short, from material I'm familiar with. Let's do this, and we did it, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. So you wrote the script?
I adapted it from the poem.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's basically the same. I really didn't change that much, other than taking the some of the dialogue and adjusting it to be a little bit more modern, as well as putting it actually in a modern setting instead of a period piece that matches Edgar Allan Poe. So
yeah. How long did that take to come together?
Honestly, it was a while ago, so I don't remember the specifics, but it took a week or so to write, and my writing process was kind of last minute. We sat down and put it all together in a day or two, and then refined it over the weeks. I think a week or two. We did the storyboards and such, and we actually shot it in 2 days, at my house, which was amazing. Shout out to Nathan Rowe for being an amazing AD. He just kept everything on track, and we ended up finishing early, and it was insanely fast.
Yeah. So it was at your house there? Walk me through that filming process.
Yeah, so I'm local, so we just went to my house. My parents were gracious enough to let us have it for 2 evenings.
Yeah.
And we put all of our gear there on a Friday, and then, or maybe it was Saturday afternoon, I don't even remember. It was so long ago. This was fall of sophomore year, so last year. And so we just went in the evenings. My friend Glenn played one of the people. He's an alumni. He played the old man in the story. And then Clay, who was actually in our class, was the main character. And so we all just kind of came. The house was cleared out and cleaned up. We used my parents' bedroom as well as some of the other rooms in the house for our set pieces. And we just kind of ran around and shot it according to what Enro and I broke down, and just hung out and finished by 11 each night, which is pretty good. So,
what would you say was the best part of filming?
Oh, I don't know. That's really hard. The whole thing was a pretty fun process. Making any film is really an experiment, and it's like a roller coaster as well. There's 2 analogies in one. There's highs and there's lows, and there's moments where you're oh my gosh, this sucks. This is gonna be terrible. And then I guess the best part is seeing it work out and come to fruition as you do in your head. I think that's the key job of a director is getting everything that's up here out to other people. So I really enjoy that collaboration process with other people on my crew, as well as finally seeing that finished project, and you're holy crap, that looks just like I thought it would.
Yeah. Or
in other scenarios, and honestly most times, holy crap, that's even better than I thought it could be.
Exactly. So what was the hardest part of filming?
Honestly, filming went pretty well. There's only like a couple places that I wanted to tweak and wish we had had time to maybe spend a little bit more time on. But we lucked out as far as like the actual production was concerned. But the editing process was pretty difficult. The original cut of the film was like 10 minutes long. And then Professor Skullstad was like, all right, cool. You got the pieces. You need to cut it in half. And so we cut like a ton of material and totally restructured the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think that was pretty difficult. Probably the most difficult part is editing it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Keegan. And now please enjoy the film Tell.
It was impossible to say how the idea first entered my brain. I loved the man. He'd never wronged me or insulted me. I think it was his eye. Yes, that was it. He had the eye of a bird, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell on me, my blood ran cold. And so, very slowly, I made up my mind to take the life of the man, freeing myself from the eye forever. Now this is the point. You may think I'm mad. Madmen know nothing. I was never kinder to the old man the week before I killed him. He suspected nothing. Every night, well past the first hour, I would peer into his room, careful to only illuminate the man's face. For 7 nights, I would look to see the eye, but it was always closed. When finally, tonight, I opened the door and his eye was opened. It was time.
Good evening, sir. I'm really sorry to bother you so late at night, but my name is Detective Michael, and the county overheard a noise complaint from here, and so I was sent down to check things out. May I ask, are you the owner of this house?
No. I just rent a room here. My landlord's away on vacation.
Okay.
I did just wake up from a really bad nightmare, though. That might have been what the neighbors heard.
Oh.
I can let you come in and look around if you'd like, though.
That would be great. Thank you. Thank you.
I let him in and led him all around the house. After all, I had nothing to fear. I told him to search and to search well. He looked all around. He found nothing. After all, I had nothing to hide. The officer was satisfied. I was completely at ease.
Thank you so much.
He sat and chatted. We talked of common things.
So, you from around here?
Unfortunately, no, but it is a nice area, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. My family used to camp in the Adirondacks, but I know it's cliche.
After a while, I felt myself getting weak and wished he would leave. My head hurt and I had a ringing in my ears. It grew louder and louder and louder. I'm sure he could hear it. Why was he still here? He wouldn't leave. He knew. He just sat there mocking me with his smile. It's a sick joke. I couldn't take it any longer.
That's it! That's it! I confess! Right there! Right there! Tear up those floorboards! There! There is his hideous beating heart!
Fantastic. Tell by Keegan Hurley, who we are joined here by. I really enjoyed that, Keegan. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
That was a lot of fun to see.
Thank you.
I like I dug the horror vibe that you had going on there. That was very, very cool.
Yeah, I think it worked out pretty well.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the nice score.
Oh, yes. It was a lot of fun to work with you on that. And I think it ultimately turned out into a pretty good final project. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
We will have more Splice after the break. Stay tuned.
C77 is now officially rebranded as Yellow Breeches TV.
My name is Nathan Sims. I'm a junior at Messiah, and I'm a double major in both film and media arts and Spanish. I grew up making films as a kid. I saw that Messiah had a film program, and so when I visited, I just thought this is the perfect fit. Both the theory and practical considerations here have really increased my skill set, not just in a technical sense, but also from a theoretical perspective as well. I think the biggest piece that I'll add to my portfolio before I graduate is the final film for the junior and senior film project. That'll probably be my crowning achievement because I'm working with so many other artists and other film majors, and it's just been a really great opportunity so far. I think I'm most excited to use skills I've learned in documentary class. I have to make ethical decisions in every step of the process to really come up with a strong and truthful way to tell someone else's story. I think my professors have done a really great job of being strong examples for what combining your faith and your ethics with an art form like film, what that looks like. And so the interactions have almost always been positive because they're really invested in what their students are learning. One of my most valuable experiences was my internship, where I was able to actually apply what I learned in the classroom to the real world, and I think that's a completely invaluable experience. Personally, I did my internship with the Department of Natural Resources in Maryland. One of my favorite experiences at Messiah so far has actually been the Splice Film Festival, which allows students to submit their own personal work, and being able to share the art that I created as well as my fellow classmates was absolutely beautiful. I think the market right now is very open for film and media arts majors. There's a lot of different ways that you can plug in, both at nonprofits, at regular organizations. I worked in the government, and so I think there are absolutely a lot of opportunities.
You're watching YBTV live on YouTube. Check out our channel after the show for more great content from Messiah University.
It should be fun. I love s'mores.
Me too. Especially on a campfire.
The best.
Golden brown.
You're watching YBTV.
Thank you again for joining us as we host Splice Film Festival live right here on YBTV. I'm Nolan Hogenboom, and I'm joined by directors Andre Frew and Nathan Velasco of the film Dark Horse Rising. How are you guys doing this evening?
We were doing great. How are you, Nolan?
I'm not too bad. Thank you for asking, Andre.
I'm doing good.
Oh, fantastic. So walk me through the filming process for Dark Horse Rising here. What was it like?
Yeah, so I'll say a little bit about the piece. Dark Horse Rising, it stars Aaron Lucas, who is a student here at Messiah, who went on to the show American Ninja Warrior, season 11. So I was really inspired by his story when we wrote an article on him for The Pulse. So when we had an opportunity to make a documentary, I was like, he would be the perfect subject for this piece.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a very inspiring story, and I think a cool one that we're all looking forward to see. So that was the inspiration for the project here. What moved you to take on this story?
Yeah, so I was just really inspired by hearing his story and hearing how because he started out he was really skinny in like middle school and high school. I think said he was like 68 pounds and like 5'10", something like that, or probably even shorter, but yeah, and he just was really determined. He tried like every sport in high school that you could think of, and he was really determined to make it onto this show. And so it was really inspiring just to see him improve and grow, and that's what we wanted to capture in the short film.
So what's next? Do you have any future projects planned?
Not in particular right now. I'm getting more into wedding filmmaking and stuff like that, but my big thing is just sharing inspiring stories and telling really cool stories like that.
Absolutely. What would you say was the best part of filming?
Probably the best part of filming was being able to experiment with new lighting. So me and Nathan were able to go for a more like moody kind of cinematic vibe and just being able to play around with different lighting scenarios.
How about the hardest part?
I thought it was cool. Well, going back to the previous question, we kind of like went around campus and like he did all like these tricks, and as you'll see, kind of like for the B-roll of the film, kind of just seeing that, and then going to like his home gym where he kind of trains and like teaches other kids. It was just cool to see that environment and how he played around. For me, the hardest part, I mean, I guess it is always hard when you have a kind of a crunch time schedule. So he didn't have like the whole day available. We had to like go in there and kind of like get everything set up quickly. And we had kind of practiced with that working together before on like the marketing department. But we were in a very big time crunch at the end there just to get all our B-roll shots and the interview and everything. So that's always a struggle.
Yeah. So if you could give any advice to a film student, what would it be?
If I could give some advice to a film student, I would say just practice, just get out there, like work on stuff, even if it's not for class, just try to get your hands on some projects. If you're really passionate about something, just take the opportunity and see if you can make something out of it.
How about you?
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Honestly, you're always going to make mistakes no matter what project you're going on. Filmmaking is hard, so just getting out there and getting as much experience as you can and finding stories that inspire you and trying to tell those the best you can. So.
Yeah. All right, well, we are pleased to bring you guys to film Dark Horse Rising, directed by Andre Frew and Nathan Velasco. Without further ado, enjoy the film.
Aaron Lucas giving his first obstacle a really good fight.
My name's Aaron Lucas, and I am an American Ninja Warrior. I kind of got into ninja kind of on a whim. My parents kind of were like, hey, this is right up your alley, you should totally do it, like growing up. And I was like, yeah, might as well. Once I started training, I started competing as well in local competitions across the East Coast. I qualified for the World Championship in my first season, placing top 5 in, I think, 3 of the 5 competitions that I competed in. I got selected to compete out in Tacoma, Washington for season 11, and that was a huge dream come true. I had set myself a goal at the beginning of the year that was my goal, to make it on the show, and that dream kind of became a reality for me, which was super surreal. Growing up, I was always the smallest kid. I was kind of pushed to the side usually and kind of bullied in a lot of things. In my freshman year of high school, so about 14 years old, I was only 4'8", about 68 pounds. And because of that, actually, in a lot of the sports that I played, coaches would tell me that I wasn't going to be good enough and that I should just kind of leave and not come back. I had that kind of failure right at the gate with Ninja. My first ever competition, I didn't even make it past the first obstacle. I fell on the very first obstacle and ended up dead last in the competition. But that kind of just drove me to be the best version of myself. Kind of drove me to keep pushing forward. Like, failure isn't where it stops. I actually find myself pushing more towards enjoying teaching others and like pushing others to be able to achieve what they first thought was impossible. I think that's such a cool like position that I've been able to be put in, to be able to help people to overcome the challenges, not only on the course but in their own lives. Encourage people from like where I came from and what I dealt with, and be able to help them to overcome their challenges as well. At the end of the day, like, whatever I do out here, whatever I do, as long as I'm glorifying God, like that's what I'm here to do, and show people the love and compassion that others have shown towards me, and kind of show like God's love through what I can do is more so what I try to define myself as.
And welcome back to Splice. That was Dark Horse Rising. We're joined here by the directors Andre Frew and Nathan Velasco. Great to have you guys with us tonight. Nathan, you mentioned earlier the interesting angles that you guys were finding to get some of those shots there. I think you were absolutely right. Andre, how do you see that? How do you see through the camera lens like that?
How do you see through the lens? Well, you put your eye up to the eyepiece.
Oh.
But no.
I meant the creative process behind it, yeah.
Yeah, no, coming up with the shots, we were pretty crunched on time, as Nathan said, but we were able to just play around with lighting, like I said before, and just try some different lenses, different angles, and we were able to find what we needed for the film.
Well, that looked absolutely fantastic, and it was a really fun story to see.
Yeah, the response was really great on it. We had Aaron shared it around with a lot of his friends, like some of his ninja friends, and one of the producers from the show actually reached out to us and was like, "This is really awesome. You guys did a great job. This is better than some of the stuff we've seen on for the actual show." So we were really encouraged by that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, thank you guys for coming out and joining us and showing Dark Horse Rising. Yeah. We will have more Splice soon. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Lily. I am a junior, and I am a broadcasting and media production major at Messiah. I chose to be a broadcasting and media production major because as a little girl, I dreamt of being a TV anchor. There are so many opportunities you can have as a broadcasting major. Messiah is really unique in the fact that we have our own TV station, and it's student-led. So each week we have Falcon Update, which is a half hour, and then we have MC Live, which is a half hour as well. My favorite part is just being in the hustle and bustle of everything, and I'm really excited to just be creative when I'm putting together news packages or shooting other stories, just really getting every element of storytelling in my work. So we have a lot of faith-based projects. Right now we're working on one, it's called Faith Sides for multimedia storytelling. In pairs we're interviewing each other for 2 minutes about some aspect of faith. A lot of students from our major either intern at ABC 27 or WGAL. I shadowed one of my professors at a Hershey Bears game. The Bears are a local AHL hockey team, and through that experience I developed connections, and eventually I got a job there. So I run the Crossfire machine and the LEDs on game days. My freshman year at Messiah, when I first came, I knew absolutely nothing about broadcasting or media, and now I feel confident that I can go work at a TV news station.
Hi, my name is Sammy Shuma, an assistant editor and writer over at Cinemablography, an online film blog. We publish reviews, analysis, and videographic essays for any reader that's looking for a more in-depth analysis into film. We've been through a lot in the past year, but there's still so many things for us to be thankful for. This year, Cinemablography is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. We get to showcase all the wonderful writers that we've gotten to collaborate with over the years. And with such a wonderfully fostered collection, there's something in there that's surely to pique your interest. As a writer at Cinemablography, I get to look more in depth in a genre that I'm really interested in. Me personally, I look in the horror genre, looking at the conventions, tropes, and theoretical theories that can be applied to it into what really makes something scary. And as an assistant editor, I get to look at the work of so many different talented writers, seeing how they vary in their own unique writing styles and their own interests. Seeing their work, I really get a widened perspective of film, and I've really enjoyed learning more from my own work and my peers. If you're a reader looking for more in-depth analysis into film, go check out cinemablography.com. If the type of work we produce is something you'd be interested in creating yourself, and you'd like to collaborate with us, feel free to contact our editor-in-chief, Fabrizio Cilento. We look forward to hearing from you, and happy reading!
You're watching YBTV.
And welcome back to Splice right here on YBTV. I'm Nolan Hogenboom, joined by director Michelle Weingartner and director of photography and co-creator Kira Kasowich of the film The Search. How are you guys doing this evening?
Great, how are you?
Not too bad. I'm excited to see this.
We're excited to show it to you.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. No, I'm very much looking forward to it. So what inspired you guys to create this project?
Well, we started doing our internship a couple of years ago with the U.S. Army Heritage and Education Center. And we had some creative differences in how we felt that we wanted this film to go. So we shot hundreds of hours of footage based on a World War I exhibit that they had that was a temporary exhibit at the Heritage and Education Center. And so they wanted to be able to archive, you know, this exhibit so that if anybody wanted to see it in the future, they'd have the opportunity to do so. So they decided that they wanted a Ken Burns style movie. And so that one's about an hour long. So we didn't want to share that. And then Kira and I, somebody had brought up the idea of using a ghost to walk through the exhibit and share the story of one of the soldiers that's there. And so that's what we ended up doing. We said, okay, we'll just do 2 movies. And that's how we ended up doing The Search. So.
Fantastic. So what was the best part of the filming process?
Oh my gosh.
It was a lot. Honestly, it was just being able to talk to all of the historians and curators there. They all know so much about it, and every one of them, they're so passionate about World War I and everything going on there, and just being able to like meet all of them and hear all of the stories that they're able to discover, it was really cool.
Yeah.
And they really make the soldiers come alive. And it was especially poignant for us because all of our fellow students, as you should know, are basically the same age as the soldiers from the movie. And so they really brought them to life for us.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
So what takeaway would you like the audience to have from this project? It's a pretty emotionally impactful one, I'm sure.
Kira, why don't you
You're the director.
Well, I think that a lot of times we look at war movies and historical context, and we don't take away the concept that these are all living humans.
Right.
And they all have their own story of where they were from and, you know, what kind of background they came from. And so, you know, to take the opportunity to go over somewhere, you know, as close as the Army Heritage and Education Center and learn some of the stories of the people there that's really what I would like for people to take away from this.
So if you could give advice to a film student, what would it be?
I think the biggest takeaway is like when you're going for an internship, make sure you're trying to get one that like allows you to actually learn and just get right into the thick of things and start making movies, because it's not going to be great and you might have to reshoot things a million times, but you learn fastest that way.
Yeah. What's on the horizon? Do you have any future projects planned?
Well, I'm working on a National Park Service movie. It's doing some footage and actual kind of TV shows to tell kind of an archaeological story of the different national historic sites that people aren't really aware of. You know, we all know about Gettysburg, but not a lot of people know about Hopewell Furnace. So we're just trying to expand that. So that's one of the projects that I'm working on.
For sure. Well, thank you both for coming out here. And without further ado, here is The Search.
Mom, can we go in here? Mom, can we go in here?
No, sweetie, not right now. We don't have time. We'll go grab some lunch and come back, okay?
Quentin is gone, Billy. I can't find him anywhere. Will you look for him? World War I was a pivotal clash that forever changed the world. Empires collapsed, new nations were born, and diplomats as peacemakers redrew the maps of Europe, Africa, and Asia. Many of today's ongoing tensions and outright conflict are directly rooted in World War I. This war unleashed a century of conflicts that included the Second World War and the Cold War. World War I changed the way nations waged war. The slaughter on battlefields like Verdun and the Somme, the horrors of gas warfare, and the power of modern industrial armies altered how people viewed war. After crossing the Atlantic, AEF soldiers continued to train in the art of modern warfare, far away from the front lines. Troops learned how to attack and defend trenches. They were instructed on French and British machine guns, small arms, artillery, tanks, and aeroplanes, because American industries could not yet produce them.
Work is being pushed along on the different buildings. This is to be a 10,000-bed hospital when it is finished, including the convalescent camps. Our X-ray work has increased, and we are running 25 to 30 cases per day.
German unrestricted submarine warfare and the discovery of the Zimmermann telegram brought America into the war on the side of Britain and France on April 6, 1917. Though liaisons and Foreign Service volunteers were already on the front lines, the first American-led combat troops arrived in France in June 1917. Millions more would arrive by the end of the war. World War I was the nation's largest conflict to date and demonstrated America's logistical prowess in fielding and supporting its military across the Atlantic Ocean.
Another lieutenant and I are running this position, the captain having been away for several days. Do you remember how it sounded when the family upstairs was tacking a carpet to the floor? That spell of awful poundings? Well, that is how it is here from time to time, only much louder. The first line, or the front, are the trenches closest to the enemy.
separated only by deep belts of barbed wire and the pockmarked landscape of no man's land. From here, assaults began or were met. At the sound of a whistle, by the order of an officer, or at the designated H hour, soldiers went over the top, by crawling out over the sandbag parapet towards the enemy's front line.
It's one of the great sad truths of the First World War that the United States fought a war to make the world safe for democracy with a segregated army. The United States Army put most of its African American troops in something called the Services of Supplies. They did, however, create two divisions, the 92nd and 93rd Division, that were all African American. One of those divisions stayed inside the United States Army. One of them went to the French Army. The one that went to the French Army performed much, much better, largely because French officers accepted them and treated them like soldiers.
Led by a brave lieutenant, we camouflaged our helmets with burlap, blackened our faces with charcoal, drew a pleasant toed sticker, triangular, pointed and fitted with knuckles, and notifying the line, started to go to Berlin via a piece of woods on our left. No one knows where we are except God and the Kaiser, and I have my doubts about God.
Like most conflicts before World War I, a sense of adventure and patriotic duty was often conveyed about the war to the soldiers and citizens of America. The reality was, and always is, different. The casualties incurred during the war on all sides were unprecedented.
Bronx native Quentin Logie left his job as clerk at the Ocean Accident and Guarantee Corporation in New York City after receiving an appointment to officer training school in Plattsburgh, New York. Early on the morning of June 9, after a week of heavy fighting, Lieutenant Logie was on a short reconnaissance about 300 feet in front of his company when a German shell exploded near him. Quentin Logie was killed instantly by shrapnel in his chest.
Your mother wanted me to find you.
I see you, Mother. Yes, I see your dear old face. It is in memory's mirror, though distant is the space. Your voice, I hear it say, for my sake be true, while fighting in France for the red, white, and blue. I see the tender look and face, the troubled, anxious brow. Oh, how I would like to take and hug and kiss you now. Your thoughts of me I cherish. Keep me always in your prayers. At home or in heaven, Mother, I want to meet you there.
The armistice brought an end to hostilities and took effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. It was agreed to and signed 6 hours earlier in a train car near Compiègne, France.
Welcome back to Splice here. That was The Search, and we're joined here by the directors Michelle Weingartner and Kira Kosovich. Thank you so much for joining us. That was powerful stuff, and a lot of fun to film, or a lot of fun to watch overall. And I'm sure it was a fun experience to film as well. Thank you guys so much for coming on, and you won't want to miss Splice that we have coming up next. We'll see you after the break.
My name is Curtis Seaman. I'm a senior journalism major. So my entire life, I've really enjoyed writing, really enjoyed sports. I thought that if I combined the two, sports journalism would be the perfect major for me. I feel very prepared for post-graduation with practicum. That's been a huge help. You have to participate in 3 different mediums of communication, media, throughout the class period. And to be able to do things like radio and television and writing has just kind of really helped to broaden my horizons. And in terms of writing, I'm also excited to use all of those skills that I've learned as well. Obviously, the professors here in the communication department are fantastic, and they really know how to get you to drill down and get you to write the best that you possibly can. In the senior sem, Dr. Dixon prays before every class, and a lot of other professors do that. To be able to pray in class, to be able to talk about faith-based things is just huge, and I really have appreciated that all 4 of my years here at Messiah. So right now I'm interning at WGAL 8 in Lancaster, which is just a TV station, NBC affiliate. The hours are a little rough. They're from 4 in the morning until noon, but that's also been a look ahead of what it's going to be like in my career in the future, so that's been also a good experience. For MC77, my sophomore year was the first year I did. I started on camera, moved to floor manager. I've done everything from camera to producing, executive producing, anchoring, VTR, audio. You can do pretty much any role. They're more than willing to give you the chance to make mistakes, but also to learn, because the time is now to make mistakes before you go out and are working for a real television station. MC77 has definitely given me a ton of great experience and prepared me for what's to come with that, and I'm excited to use that more within bigger TV stations and more live television day in and day out.
You're watching YBTV.
And welcome back to Splice Live right here on YBTV. I'm Nolan Hogenboom. If you're just joining us, welcome. We are showcasing films created by students and alumni, and I'm joined here right now by director Malia Irby of the film Ochivi Dar, which is a father's gift, I believe.
Yes.
In what language is that?
Bosnian.
Fantastic. Yeah. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. It was a beautiful day today, so it was
Absolutely.
pretty easy to feel great.
Great day for Splice, huh?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what inspired you to create this project?
Oh man, okay, long-winded answer. I won't give you the whole answer. But basically, I kind of grew up around Bosnia, around the culture. I feel like I grew up there personally. My brother lived there for 11 years, and I would go and like live with him from the age of 14 all the way until I came to Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it wasn't the whole time, but like a lot of spurts and stuff. And if you don't know anything about Bosnia, it used to be Yugoslavia, and it went through a horrible war and genocide in the 90s. And a lot of people just don't know about that war.
Mm-hmm.
And I, through my experience there and through my experience with the people and the culture, I just grew like a giant heart for them, and especially Muslims who lived there, because they were the ones who were mostly targeted in the war.
Yeah.
And so I grew a heart for the people, but also for their stories, because I feel like no one knew about them, and therefore like no one really cared, and were able to care because no one was talking about it.
Yeah. So walk me through the filming process for that.
Yeah, so I kind of came into Messiah, and I was like, the reason why I became a film major was actually so that I could make stories like these for Bosnian people that I knew, and refugees alike, and stories like that. And so when I came to school, I kind of came in like, okay, I got to get the skills, and I'll leave, and it'll be cool. And then end of junior year, I found out, like randomly, someone was like, hey, do you know that like a giant population of Bosnian refugees live like 20 minutes away from here? And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what? And of course, that was the time when I was starting my junior-senior project, and I needed an idea. And I remember talking to Michelle, actually, someone who was just in here for her film. I remember being like, man, like, this is too perfect to pass up. And she was like, yeah, like, you need to do it. And so it kind of just propelled this, like, I don't know anybody in this community.
Right.
So first I need to like find somebody, and then I need to, do all these things. But I just knew that it was like at least a story that I needed to start trying to tell. Even if there were setbacks, even if it was really hard.
Yeah.
It was something I really wanted to pursue. And by the grace of God, I was able to do that.
Yeah. Were there any setbacks? What would you say was the hardest part of filming?
Yeah, lots of setbacks. I think COVID was a giant setback. I actually met with someone who ended up being the subject of the film, but originally he was just a connection point. And he's a local imam, so that's like the pastor basically of the local Bosnian Muslim community. And so I met with him, and I was like, before COVID, like 2 weeks before we left, and I said, this is the project, like I wanted to hear your story, but I also like, do you know anybody? And then when COVID hit, it just kind of postponed everything, and it made it really hard, and especially when a lot of the interviewing and a lot of the storytelling would be done in their house, you know, like that was a huge setback. So there was a lot, and and then you add on the like average setbacks of like someone cancels, or it rains, or like things like that. I mean, it took a lot to get it off the ground, I think. But I'm really proud of just the fact that it exists. I think I was more so proud of like just being able to hear someone rather than even telling the story. Like I was just so excited to be in the room with this family who was willing to share with this random American girl, their life and like things that were really difficult about their childhood.
Yeah. So was this a scripted project?
It was not. It was in the sense of like I had talked to them several times, so I knew, especially the dad, and I knew his story, and I wanted to kind of bring out elements that I saw in his story, but it's just so vast. Like he had so many aspects of his story that I cannot include, which is just really, really sad.
Yeah.
But it wasn't scripted, but I saw this connection point between all of his stories, including kind of like elements of his father and also his lack of his father. And, his story, is you won't see necessarily in the clip that you're going to see tonight, but his father was basically taken away as a religious leader. He was put in a concentration camp, and for most of his childhood. And so this aspect that you're going to see in the clip is like this toy that he remembers being taken away from him, and kind of like being devastated as a child, and that toy connecting to his father's presence and the lack thereof. And so I really wanted to kind of, in a scripted way, like bring that out of him, and kind of try and tell that piece of his story. But I mean, working with humans and wanting to hear everything, it was really hard, and it still is really hard. But yeah, so it wasn't scripted, but it was, I attempted my best,
Yeah. Well, this seems like a really moving story. What ultimate takeaway do you want the audience to have from the project?
I think the ultimate takeaway is that, I decided to tell this one aspect of this story, but everyone has a story. And I think that is my biggest takeaway, is for a lot of people who are graced to live in America from birth, like, we don't realize the turmoil that a lot of people who come here as refugees or immigrants, like the turmoil that they bring and the stories that they have. And I feel like there's a really big stigma against people who enter the country. And I really wanted to be able to be an advocate for them, because out of the statistical people that I've met, like, they always just like want to bring their best to America, and they have so much love to give, and they have so many pieces of their story that are so moving. And so my part was, haphazardly telling one person's story, but everyone has a story. And I think if you take one thing away from this story, is the general theme of, like, be willing to ask instead of assume, be willing to listen instead of write someone else's story.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. So thank you so much for joining us, Malia. And now, without further ado, here is the film Ochevi Dar, A Father's Gift.
I remember every second, like, begging my dad to get me into school. That day when we went to school, I remember seeing many people, not knowing what's going on, of course, but seeing many people, not students, not kids, but older people standing in front of the school. And somebody told my dad, because he brought a child to register for the school year, and they said like they were so shocked, like, what you're trying to accomplish, like, we have just a moment, seconds, you move, go, like, we're about to be attacked. The same day, like, helicopters were passing by, so the enemies were coming. And I remember, like, suddenly we were at home. As a child, I'm still, like, in my set school, why I'm not going to school, But I understood that we're leaving, and now I have another thing very important for me. My dad bought us a train, like a toy. If I remember correctly, it was running not on the electricity or smaller battery, but it will run on the car's batteries. So that means that we will not playing always. It will be only when Dad gets the battery out and put it there. It was very important to me, like, to have that toy. I was like happiest child. And what happened right now? We're packing ourselves. I see my mom packing dishes in the kitchen, and I see my dad organizing his books, which one to grab. So I realized we're leaving. I know that for sure. Something terrible is going to happen. I'm not scared of that, because my set is that toy. Are we going to get that toy in the car?
And welcome back to Splice here on YBTV, where we've just seen a clip of Malia Irvi's film Ochevi Dar, A Father's Gift. Do you have any future plans for the film?
For the film, finish it. It is currently in its final editing revisions, so definitely that first. And then I definitely want to submit it to maybe some festivals in Lancaster. I will be living there after college, and I am hoping to get involved in the refugee community there as well. So it would be, I think, a nice little condensing of all my passions in one.
Well, that looked absolutely fantastic, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing the final product.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again so much to Malia Irby for joining us. Stay tuned for more Splice after the break.
You're watching YBTV live on YouTube. Check out our channel after the show for more great content from Messiah University.
It should be fun. I love s'mores.
Me too, especially on a campfire.
The best.
Golden brown.
My name is Natalie Moy. I'm a senior and I'm a digital media major.
I feel like the classes here have helped me to train my eye to detect good design. I like how the professors don't force you into one way of thinking. Instead, they allow you to be creative and think of projects in your own way, and they will guide you and help you envision your project to make it even better and stronger. I have this one professor who starts off his classes with prayers, and I feel like that's really great because it starts us off reminding us that we are creating something for God, so we have that in our minds to create something that He will be pleased with. In my portfolio, I have quite a large variety of works. I have design-based works, I have photography, I have videography. One of the big projects I will be expecting in my portfolio would be from the junior-senior film class that I'm taking this semester. I'll be the production designer for this short film, and I'm looking forward to work with my crew because they're all awesome people. Messiah has this media hub called The Pulse, so I've been working for them for the past few months, and you can do stuff like designing, photography, videography, the radio station, and you can even design websites, write articles. I think it's a really great opportunity for me to get my work out there. I'm a designer, so people on campus or even off campus get to see what I do, and I think that's really great. So if you're a digital media student, you could go into computer science fields, or you could go into the film industries or graphic design. I guess it's the beauty of digital media, it's just so versatile.
You're watching Falcon Update live on Messiah University's Yellow Breeches Television.
And welcome back to Splice Live here on YBTV. I'm Nolan Hogenboom, joined by director Nathan Velasco of the film Stationary. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well for my second interview.
For the second time, yeah. We saw you earlier with Dark Horse Rising with Andre.
Yes, sir.
So how about Stationary here? What inspired you to create this project?
Yeah, so I made Stationary for my senior project for film and media. And initially, me and Nathan Rowe were looking at creating a completely original idea, but we just had this kind of brain fog. We couldn't think of a good idea to make our senior project. So we kind of looked at this resource from Stephen King, and he has like a bunch of short stories online that he can like give the rights to for $1. They're called dollar babies is what he calls them.
Fantastic.
So you pay $1 for the rights, and so we kind of did that. And then basically ended up creating a completely original story. Anyway, we just kind of took the original inspiration of something with a stationary bike and kind of making it a little bit eerie and kind of surreal. But that was the original inspiration.
What was the best part of the filming process?
The best part of the filming process, I don't know. I think it is probably just watching it all come together.
which it is not completely together yet. We'll just see like one scene from it today. But I think just working together with a lot of classmates and people within the major, and just getting back to filmmaking process, because COVID shut a lot of things down last semester, and it was just fun to get working on a big project again. So, how about roadblocks? What was the hardest part? There's so many. As I said before, there's always problems with filmmaking.
I was going to say it wouldn't be a film if it went smoothly, right?
Yeah, and one of our production classes last semester, Film in HD2, got cut short, and so we're using a lot of equipment that you are taught how to use properly in that class on the latter portion. So we're using the RED cameras, we were using this big Movi stabilizer, and we kind of had to learn to use that all properly on the fly in like either private tutoring lessons, or we brought in an alumni who's used them before. But still there was so many problems. I mean, one day we came and the stabilizer just was fully charged throughout the night, and then in the colds just kind of stopped working completely.
Yeah.
So we had to switch out the camera, switch out the stabilizer, and it was a mess, but we got it done. So
that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
So who wrote the script?
So I mostly wrote it. In the earlier stages, it was me and Nathan Rowe kind of working together on creating this story. But it was mostly me in the latter stages, kind of trying to get a final version to submit at the end of the semester.
And how long did the project take to come together?
So we spent one semester in pre-production, mostly writing it, and then we shot it this semester. Kind of took the whole length of the semester pretty much. We got it done a couple weeks ago.
Great, yeah. What takeaway would you like the audience to have from the project?
Takeaways, I don't know, you're not going to see the whole thing, so hopefully the audience will be intrigued by just kind of the opening to the film.
The takeaway is go see it.
Yeah, basically. Go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. No, but yeah, just get intrigued, and hopefully some of the initial themes of success and failure and kind of stagnation will kind of come through, and yeah, just captivate the audience.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So based on the experience that you have with this project, what advice would you give to a film student?
Spend as much time as you can in pre-production, really finalizing all the plans, getting to know all the equipment, and even still, I mean, as a director, I think Martin Scorsese said that their main job is problem solving. So you have to be ready when you actually get on set in production to be flexible and always have a backup plan, so you can get it done quickly and efficiently.
What's on the horizon? Do you have any future projects planned?
Well, we're going to see if we can get an internship this summer and get more experience. We're planning to shoot, I think, 2 more short films this year with my friends Liam and Keegan. Keegan was on here earlier with Tell.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll see.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on, Nathan. And without further ado, here's the film Stationary.
Grace, don't leave. Grace, don't leave. All right, I can try another gallery. We can still make rent. Parmer has accepted my photos before, okay? I can contact them.
Photo!
What?
They accepted one of your photos, Ellis, and that was years ago. I've tried to be supportive, but maybe your dad was right.
And welcome back to Splice. We just saw a clip from Nathan Velasco's film Stationary. We're joined here by him. That was excellent. I'm intrigued. We had a lot of good wild transitions and stuff in there. That was absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it when it comes out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it too.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Nathan. Splice continues after the break. Don't go anywhere.
77 is now officially rebranded as Yellow Breaches TV.
My name is Nathan Sims. I'm a junior at Messiah, and I'm a double major in both film and media arts and Spanish. I grew up making films as a kid. I saw that Messiah had a film program, and so when I visited, I just thought this is the perfect fit. Both the theory and practical considerations here have really increased my skill set, not just in a technical sense, but also from a theoretical perspective as well. I think the biggest piece that I'll add to my portfolio before I graduate is the final film for the junior and senior film project. That'll probably be my crowning achievement because I'm working with so many other artists and other film majors, and it's just been a really great opportunity so far. I think I'm most excited to use skills I've learned in documentary class. I have to make ethical decisions in every step of the process to really come up with a strong and truthful way to tell someone else's story. I think my professors have done a really great job of being strong examples for what combining your faith and your ethics with an art form like film, what that looks like. And so the interactions have almost always been positive because they're really invested in what their students are learning. One of my most valuable experiences was my internship, where I was able to actually apply what I learned in the classroom to the real world, and I think that's a completely invaluable experience. Personally, I did my internship with the Department of Natural Resources in Maryland. One of my favorite experiences at Messiah so far has actually been the Splice Film Festival, which allows students to submit their own personal work, and being able to share the art that I created as well as my fellow classmates was absolutely beautiful. I think the market right now is very open for film and media arts majors. There's a lot of different ways that you can plug in, both at nonprofits, at regular organizations. I worked in the government, and so I think there are absolutely a lot of opportunities.
You're watching YBTV live on YouTube. Check out our channel after the show for more great content from Messiah University.
It should be fun. I love s'mores.
Me too. Especially on a campfire.
The best.
Golden brown.
You're watching YBTV.
Hey, welcome back to Splice right here on YBTV. I'm Nolan Hogenboom. So far, we've talked to directors of great student films here, and we are now joined by Mason Lever, director of the film The End Is Near. Ominous stuff. How are you doing this evening?
I'm all right. How are you?
Not too bad. That title is intriguing me greatly.
Yeah.
So let's talk. What inspired you to create the project?
Yeah, so early on this year, I was listening to a podcast where this guy mentioned how he's studying to be a psychologist, and a lot of his clients were anxious about the apocalypse happening during COVID.
Yeah.
In sort of a Revelation style thing, sort of inspired by Left Behind. And so I was like, man, that's really interesting. And I was talking to more and more people on campus, and I kind of realized it was a common theme that people were worried about, the rapture and the mark of the beast and that sort of thing. It was kind of a really common topic. So I decided to make a documentary about it.
So in taking that project on, walk me through the process here. What was filming like?
Yeah, so
especially during a pandemic.
Yeah, a lot of it was research. So because I wanted to show kind of where the history, like the study of Revelation is called eschatology. It's like your end times view, and I wanted to study the history of that. So it was checking out a lot of books from the library and interviewing some professors who ended up being in the documentary. and then scheduling a lot of interviews, a lot of pre-interviews with different subjects. Gosh, I must have interviewed 15 or 16 people, and then we ended up using, I want to say 8 subjects or 9 subjects. So it was a lot. It was a lot of research, and then we basically just did 3 interview days, 3 shooting days, and then a lot of editing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it would be.
Yeah.
If you could give any advice to a film student, what would it be?
I think kind of study other topics too. Obviously, learning about film is important for a film student, but I think some of the best films and the best filmmakers are kind of multifaceted in what they know. Like, I wouldn't have been able to make this documentary if I didn't also know some stuff about, you know, theology and biblical history. So yeah.
Well, the Revelation end time stuff that you're talking about, that's absolutely fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
So, what was the best part about the filming process?
It was great to like sit with a project for a whole semester.
Yeah.
It was basically a full semester, a little bit less, but it was great to be able to really sit with the idea and kind of watch it evolve and get to talk to all these really fascinating people, because I got to talk to some experts on it, so it was great. Yeah.
And what was the hardest part?
Sitting with it for a whole semester, because you edit it for a while and you're doing these interviews, and it's like, how are we going to shave this down to 10 minutes? We have like hours of footage, and that was difficult, but yeah, it was a lot of fun too.
So after viewing this, what takeaway would you like the audience to have?
I'd like us to just think about how we deliver our theology and our end times views, because the view that we're talking about here is dispensational premillennialism. It's kind of the left behind view, and I'd like if people could think about how we talk about that in a sensitive way that doesn't leave people kind of terrified, which seems to be a common theme.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, so you're talking about all the interviews that you were going through and things, so I'm getting the sense that this wasn't probably an entirely scripted out project.
No, it was not scripted at all. We basically just said, hey, introduce yourself, and then I asked questions. We knew the general flow that it was going to have from our pre-interviews, but it was really structured around what are the common themes that we're seeing in the pre-interviews. Turns out that there was a lot of tie-in with hell, as well as the rapture, which we kind of incorporated. Dr. Putt is one of our subjects, and she wrote a whole book on hell. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It kind of evolved that way.
So how about any future projects you have on the horizon?
I need to come up with a senior thesis project soon.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to be yet, and I'm hoping to do grad school in the future, so that's something. But yeah, nothing concrete.
For film? Or?
Yeah, for film. For film. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's really fantastic stuff, and I'm excited to see where it takes you.
Thanks. Yeah.
So without further ado, the end is near.
The first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Revelation is kind of the end of the world as we know it.
I had a lot of anxiety issues as a child, especially my mind would go to very extreme things. So of course, anytime we talked about Jesus coming back and like people going to hell, I would get worried that I would be separated from my family or people that I cared about because I wasn't good enough.
For a very long time, I was extremely anxious about, like, I'll just be in school and then I'll be gone, or vice versa, I'll be left. And it is very, in a way, antithetical to the message of Christ about love, perfect love driving out fear.
You know, whenever I read the book of Revelation, I would be terrified, absolutely horrified for the people left on this earth, what they were going to have to undergo for 7 horrible years. And I'm going to have to live through all this because, of course, the world's coming to an end. Everyone I know, says that the world is ending within our lifetimes. All I could think about was how any day now the Antichrist was going to come and he was going to bring the beast out of the sea or whatever, and judgment was going to start coming out of the sky, and Christians were going to be torn limb from limb. And I began to think, well, my life is over. I'm a young child, young teenager, and this is it.
When I was in high school, it was probably about 15, and my youth group watched a film about the rapture and how one character experienced, seeing some people suddenly gone, and she was left to figure out what happened. There was a sense of kind of dread, maybe of at any moment this could all go away, and the implication being, so you better be ready.
My biggest fear is that I won't get the chance to get married. I think sometimes living on day to day, I try and force specific things. Like I may try and force a relationship, or try and find the one as quick as I can so that I won't miss out before the rapture comes.
My church's interpretation of Revelation was very literal. My pastor would occasionally have people come who specialized in interpreting the symbolism in Revelation in a way that understood it as related to the present time. And as a child and an early teenager, it was not always something that I looked forward to. I would hear older people in the church talking about anticipating the rapture. They couldn't wait for Jesus' return. And I felt bad even expressing, even nonverbally, even thinking it to myself, that I didn't really want Jesus to return just yet because I may not get to grow up. I may not get to experience so many things in life.
So the interpretation of the book of Revelation is a very interesting question. What did the people who were there at the time it was written, what did they believe about it? Much like every generation has interpreted it since, they interpreted it through the lens of what they were personally experiencing. And the early church of the first 3 centuries was experiencing a lot of persecution. And so they were anticipating that Jesus was going to come back and deliver them at any moment. Premillennialism was the first belief. It was the belief of the early church.
Your end time view ties in with how you interpret the book of Revelation, your hermeneutics. And so you can interpret it as totally in the future, you can interpret it as progressive history, you can interpret it as everything happened in the first century, or you can interpret it like I think it's supposed to be interpreted. And that's a book filled with symbolism and figurative language that you absolutely cannot take literally. Millennialism. Meaning no, millennialism meaning the 1,000 years. Not that there isn't a millennium, but there's no literal millennium.
Literal interpretation doesn't mean you can't believe in figures of speech or symbols or types. In a sense, one way of looking at it is if the plain sense of the terms makes good sense, then you seek no other sense.
That at the crucifixion of Christ and the coming of the Spirit, it inaugurated the kingdom of God on earth. And so Jesus Christ is reigning now through us with his saints on earth for however long that lasts. It's been a couple thousand years now, right? And so that's the kingdom of God right now reigning, the rule of Christ through his people on earth. At the same time, however, the spirit of Antichrist and the dominion of darkness is running rampant. So there's wars and earthquakes and rumors of wars. There's pandemics and whatever else you want to attribute to end time circumstances.
When they come to eschatological scriptures, they say, we're going to presume that it's symbolic. And when you do that, you sort of unpin yourself, and any symbol could be a valid symbol because it's in the mind of the beholder.
And then finally it'll all come to an end. Jesus will return and set up the eternal state, you know, the new heavens and the new earth. That to me seems like a responsible way to interpret Revelation as far as end time things goes. And it's weird, I always was a dispensational premillennialist until I went to school.
It just made more sense to me to keep a consistent hermeneutic throughout the scriptures.
Maybe amillennialism makes the most sense. Maybe that is the way to interpret Revelation. And so I'm an amillennialist.
If I were to offer someone any advice, a person who is struggling with this very literal interpretation of the book of Revelation, I would say immerse yourself in the Christian tradition. Realize that to be dogmatic, dogma is good, but to be dogmatic is a great evil. There's always a tension between our own finitude and the infinite truths of Revelation. So it's not something to be worried about. It's something that if you engage with honestly, if you engage with in the light of Scripture, the light of tradition, you will get over this issue and you will come out with your faith stronger and deeper and more nuanced.
As I learned more about the historical context and different genres, I was able to let go of some of the ideas that I had grown up with. Early on in studying the book of Revelation and apocalyptic literature, it made sense to me that this was a book that was written to encourage believers and perhaps not meant to be taken as literally as I had understood it growing up.
I don't think the message of God casting away billions on billions of people feels natural or sits well with anyone, because they know they receive mercy, so they want to show it on other people. And that's inside, like, cruddy humans. The God I see in the Bible is so much better than us humans, so how much more is his love for humanity?
And welcome back to Splice. We just saw Mason Lever's The End Is Near. We're joined here by Mason. That was absolutely fascinating stuff.
Thanks.
That was, and I really liked your B-roll shots there in the church and everything. That was, and I think that was a really fantastic project. I'd like to see that fleshed out into a full thing. Do you have any plans to do anything more with that topic, that subject?
You know, I would. I'd definitely consider it. There's definitely enough material there to really flesh it out. I think at this point it's kind of the resources that are available to me. But it would be pretty cool to explore that further, yeah. I think it's an important topic.
Well, that's really cool stuff. Thank you so much, Mason, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Splice Festival is still on. Join us again after the break.
Be live on YouTube. Check out our channel after the show for more great content from Messiah University.
It should be fun. I love s'mores.
Me too, especially on a campfire.
The best.
Golden brown.
My name is Arkel Brown. I am a senior communication major here at Messiah. Within our community, honestly, it's like one big family. Everyone relies on each other to get certain projects done. You know you can depend on other people within the communications department. Throughout the years, my skill set has completely evolved. I was actually able to do color commentating for the men's basketball last season, so it was pretty fun. I take pride in these extracurricular programs. I am the student assistant basketball coach for the women's basketball team. This year is my 4th year working with them. They've really become another family here for me on campus, and it just made me adapt so easily. And basketball is something I've always loved, so it was natural. The interactions between professors and students here are amazing, honestly. I couldn't ask for any better interactions with my professors. They're so caring, they're so loving, they're generous, and they're always open to anything you have to say or any questions that you have. They really want to be there for you. My Christian faith is everywhere in the classes, whether it's being through prayer before classes or having devotion. It's always tied in with our Christian faith. Like, we have to be honest. We have to know we have to keep God first in every situation and know that without God, we wouldn't even have the opportunity to be where we are. It definitely keeps us grounded. And I think Messiah has taught me so much about myself within the communication department, as how I relate to people, how people relate to me. We understand each other's differences. And I think I'll be ready for the real world once I graduate.
MC77 is now officially rebranded as Yellow Breeches TV.
You're watching YBTV.
Welcome back to Splice right here on YBTV, where we're joined by Billy Friedel. Billy.
Hi.
What inspired you to create the project that we're about to see?
Oh man. Well, as it's I guess actually what this was inspired by a writing exercise I was doing back in my junior year. I started out with this idea of writing like a kind of like a superhero AA meeting of like these various superhero archetypes who would come together and kind of deal with these very superhero comic booky tropes in like a sort of like a group therapy type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's been done in a few ways in the medium, but I guess I figured I'd take my shot at it. So I started out by writing basically the opening of the film that either you've seen or will see wherever you decide to show this. But it started out as that, but then I kind of just fell in love with the two main characters right out of this and just wanted to see where their story went. So that became Put on a Happy Face.
Mm-hmm. So did you write the script? Who wrote the script for this?
I did. Yeah, I wrote and directed.
How long did that take you?
Ooh, yeah, this was definitely the longest one that it took. I started it at the end of junior year, went through the summer and up to, I think the final draft was completed winter of 2019. So a little less than a year, but
yeah,
but a lot. Yeah, probably like 6 to 8 months, maybe.
A labor of love.
Oh yeah.
So walk me through the filming process. How did this all come together?
Yeah, so yeah, by the end of 2019, I was done. The script writing process. So I had to figure out during that. So yeah, basically during that winter and up through like through end of December and into January and February, I was casting, which I did the casting for that long, and as well as getting pre-production shooting. I think we started in like late February, went in through March, and we were literally shot like the last day. We were all at school that year before the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had to change a little bit of my script to make sure that I could have a full film done because we were planning to shoot like basically the end of the second act and the climax when we were going to come back, at least how it was originally going to be shot, but then we never did end up coming back. So yeah, luckily I was able to plan ahead and at least come up with an alternative so I could at least have a finished film.
Yeah. What would you say was the best part of the process?
That's actually really tough. The writing was definitely a lot of fun. Spending that much time on a script really made me think about story and character and how to convey everything. But the cast was also, of course, a big plus to this. I was really lucky to come across this great group of cast. One of them was a friend of mine from high school, so getting to reconnect. So yeah, it was a great way to reconnect with him. And yeah, it was definitely a tough process with everything that happened, especially post-production. But yeah, I'd say the areas where especially the areas where I could collaborate with classmates, because this was a very singular project in a lot of ways. Like most people do this sort of thing with a group, and this I had to just find people who had enough goodwill to help me out. And thankfully, I know a lot of really talented people.
So what takeaway would you like the audience to have?
Yeah, I guess my biggest takeaway would be just with whatever you're going through in your life it's better to just not be alone when doing it. I know that's something that I tend to struggle with. I tend to keep a lot of things. I tend to be fairly introverted, fairly reserved, and I think and even just with this pandemic, it's just keeping contact with people and helping and just make sure that you have. I'd say that the biggest thing is with whatever you're going through in your life, just trust people to lean on them and be open with them.
Do you have any future projects planned?
I'm doing a lot of personal writing right now. That's been my big thing during the pandemic that I've done that's actually productive. So yeah, I'm working on a lot of writing projects, mostly either short scripts or that I hope to shoot eventually when things get safer, and I'm also working on a lot of comic book scripts, which is kind of like my big passion.
Fun,
which will be very evident in the film.
So if you could give any advice to a film student, what would it be?
Do as much pre-planning ahead of time, and make sure to have backup plans if those don't fall through.
For sure.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting paradox where it's like you kind of need to be planned and have some kind of like spine of planning, like some sort of planned thing, but you also need to be flexible and figure out what's working on the day and adapt as you're working.
All right, well, I'm excited to see this film, and I think everybody else is too.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great to finally have people see it.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Billy Friedel, and Put on a Happy Face.
There have been no connections found yet between the abductees, nor any clear motive for why they would be abducted in the first place. Police, working alongside Philadelphia superhero Space Penguin, asks that the populace remains calm and keep an eye out for any bizarre activity. In other news, Harrisburg's emotion-reading superhero, the mysterious Smiley Face, continues to appear throughout the Harrisburg area with more and more frequency.
Hey, Jackie.
Hey.
You know, you should probably call someone to arrest these guys. You still open?
Wesley, come on.
My name is Smiley Face. When the mask is on, you're to call me Smiley Face.
No, I'm not, okay? Just take the mask off and eat like a person.
Interesting. Alright, fine.
What?
You called me a person, that's all. Alright, fine. Is that better? I found him.
The guy?
The guy. The guy we've been looking for this entire time. The guy that's the cause of everything. His name is Casey Dunn. He runs a crew that he hires out to lower level supervillains, from guys like as low as the Coyote to as high as Dr. Totalis. And here's the bad news, good news of it all. Supposedly, he is staying at the Lower Trinity Baptist Church, all alone, no one else but him. And I think he has powers. Pretty sure it's something to do with telepathy.
You must have gone completely insane. We never went after people with powers. This is way out of your league. And if what I just saw out there is any indication, your powers are clearly still on the fritz.
Well, yeah, after what he did to me,
You're gonna kill him. Wes, please tell me I'm wrong.
I have to end this. This has been going on too long. He's the reason behind everything that's been going on for the past... I have to do this.
You said a smiley face was supposed to show people there was still good in the world.
I was wondering when a superhero would find you.
So I've been having this killer headache. Got this mind parasite. The thing is, this critter needs to feed on bad memories and feelings. And who has more pain and baggage than a superhero?
Well, you look familiar.
In your mind, your only limit is your imagination. Isn't that a quote? Didn't some superhero say it?
Daydreamer.
Huh. Right. Daydreamer. Well then, let's find a place to start.
Hey, last box. Anywhere you want me to put it? Holding up okay? Moving day can be hard.
Oh, sorry. I mean, you can just put the box over there.
It's okay.
You can just put it right there.
Sure. Oh, you like superheroes?
Yeah, for sure. I love superheroes.
You know, I saw the champion once around here. He saved this.
What?
Yeah, he saved this nearby apartment complex from a fire.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome! I love the champion. He's like, that's so cool. I mean, that's not cool for the people in the fire.
It's
I didn't mean it.
okay. It's okay. You're fine. I got you. So who's your favorite?
Daydreamer for sure. Absolute favorite.
He's the guy that goes into people's dreams, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doesn't seem like there'd be a lot of crime to fight there.
Oh, you would be surprised. No, there's actually a lot that can go off of that.
Oh, shoot. I gotta get back.
Oh, okay.
It was nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm Jackie.
Nice to meet you too, Wesley. Nice to meet you.
I'll see you around.
See ya.
Looks like your brain's natural defenses are kicking in, scrambling your memories. I guess I'll just have to push a little bit harder.
You gentlemen forget a key or something, or do I need to call a locksmith?
just don't see why you have to care so much. So what if I go out beating up Casey's men?
You are letting this guy turn you into a monster.
I did what I had to do.
I can't do this. I can't. If you want help, actual help, not manhunt help, honest to God.
He's the police's problem now. All I want to do is talk. I do need your help, and I am willing to accept it, and I'm sorry for what I said before, but I do need your help, your actual help.
We can talk. We've got the whole ride to talk.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to interview with us over Zoom, Bill. We'll have director Stacey McDowell of the film Time to Go after the break. Stay tuned to Splice on YBTV.
My name is Macy Thornton. I'm a senior and I'm a public relations major. I was initially drawn to the public relations major because I've always been great with people and the skills are very transferable. One thing that's definitely unique to Messiah is that they teach from a Christian perspective, and I've been able to use that in internships and those types of opportunities. The professors are great, they're very approachable, and they genuinely want to see you succeed. I'm involved in athletics in that I'm on the Messiah women's basketball team, and it's been one of the most enriching experiences of my life. I'm in a class called Senior PR Campaign, and we're working for an actual nonprofit organization off campus, so we're helping them with some PR related things, and it's just really great to actually put theory into practice and to feel like you're making a difference even though you're still in school. And I also had the opportunity to do an internship with a minor league baseball team. PR practitioners have to conduct themselves ethically. They have to have integrity. They have to be honest and transparent with the people they work with. So ethics is a big part of public relations. I believe Christian PR practitioners are called to hold themselves to a higher standard because of their beliefs, and that should show in their professional life. I feel very prepared with regard to the experiences I've had, the internship opportunities I've had, and the knowledge I have that the PR major has given me and the skills I've attained through it.
You're watching YBTV live on YouTube. Check out our channel after the show for more great content from Messiah University.
It should be fun. I love s'mores.
Me too. Especially on a campfire.
The best.
Golden brown.
And welcome back to Splice Film Festival, everybody. I'm Nolan Hoganboom, and we're joined here by Stacey McDowell. We're about to watch her film, Time to Go. Stacey, thank you for joining us tonight. What inspired you to create this project?
Just being in college, thinking about where I'm going from here and making that transition into full-on adulthood and everything that comes with that.
Who wrote the script?
I did.
Yeah, all right. How long did that take?
It took a few months. I had the idea back in 2018 and just been developing it for a while.
What was the filming process like? Walk me through that.
It was interesting. We went through figuring out our cast. It was trying, but I learned a lot about the whole process. It's the first time I had helped lead a full-on production. So yeah.
What would you say was the best part of the filming experience?
I would say just seeing the characters that have been in my head all this time actually in person and just in the world.
Coming to life.
Yes.
And what was the hardest part? I know that filming a movie in the middle of a pandemic probably wasn't the easiest thing in the world in and of itself, but
yeah, we actually filmed just before the pandemic. But yeah, just trying to find that balance because you're still doing classes and finding the time. And I had never directed before, so I'm an introvert, so that was a little rough, but I've definitely learned a lot.
Yeah. What takeaway do you want the audience to have from the project?
I would say realizing that with all the things and people that happen in our lives, the people that are close to us. We can't control everything, but we can have an influence. So just finding that balance as we transition into these different phases of our lives.
Do you have any future projects planned?
I'm working on like possibly like a show.
Oh, fantastic.
Still figuring things out. So
Well, good luck with that. I hope that works out.
thank you.
If you could give any advice to a film student, what would it be?
I would say to make sure you're organized as you develop your ideas. I know things will pop into my head just going about life, and I think it's good to make sure you're jotting it down so you can go back to it later and start setting up like a script or setting up your beats and things like that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
No
And
problem.
without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Stacey McDowell and Time to Go.
Hey, can you try not to move so much? This camera really can't capture that much emotion.
Flynn, get a better camera. Life isn't gonna hold still for you.
You know Mom got me this. I can't get rid of it.
That was like 3 years ago.
It was only 2.
Excuse me. I'm afraid we don't allow photography of the art.
Oh,
He was just taking a picture of me.
All right. But if I catch you using your camera again, I'm going to have to confiscate it.
Yes, sir.
You're welcome.
I could have handled that. Watch it. What are you doing?
It's her.
Who?
The recruiter from the Marley Chrysalis Gallery.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Come on, Isaac. It's only a 4-hour plane ride. You can come visit me. I want to go to LA so badly. I want to get away from this town, get away from Tyler. What are you doing here? Did Dad force you to come?
Tara wanted me to come, but she's running a little late, so.
Okay, that's not a problem. You can just hang out with us until Kara gets here. Or not.
Hey.
What?
Make better decisions, Isaac.
What's that supposed to mean?
Exactly what I said.
All right, look, you've been on your phone the entire time we've been here. Go check out some of Adwin's paintings. That's some of her best work.
Maybe.
Doesn't this place remind you of that light show we used to go to around Christmas with Mom and Dad? You remember the last time we went, right?
Yeah, Mom and Dad were fighting the whole time.
Well, how about just the three of us go next time?
Probably not. I won't be around for Christmas. Kara's family lives in Michigan, so...
Can't you just Skype them or something?
That wouldn't be fair to Kara.
You're not going to move to Michigan permanently then, are you?
I don't know.
Well, all right, fine. Well, then what about my graduation? It's coming up in a few months. You're coming to that, right?
Okay, let's make a deal. You don't ask me any more questions for the rest of the night, and I will check out Adwin's art.
All right, deal. Fine.
Okay.
All right, so just one more question.
Isaac.
Okay, why do you hate Adwin's art so much? This is really, really good. Like, this is actually good.
I don't hate Adwin's art.
You don't?
No, I actually think it's some of your best work.
Seriously? Then why are you always complaining
I'm always complaining about your stuff that you leave all over the apartment. I don't mind the art. And you named the piece after Kara and I.
Well, yeah, I was inspired by your relationship.
I thought you hated Kara.
What? No, I think she's great. She would have to be to put up with you.
Oh boy.
Are you Adwin Jones?
Yes.
I'm Natalie with the Marley Chrysalis Gallery. Would you mind speaking to me for a moment?
Not at all.
We have many new, fresh artists, and have you heard of Aria Walker? She's lovely, and she's so talented.
It is just a monologue, but we just keep it moving, we keep it going, because
All right. I've warned you. I'm going to need to confiscate your camera.
No.
Excuse me?
Said no, I'm not going to give you my camera.
All right, listen. Don't get difficult with me. I'm going to need to confiscate your camera. You can have it back at the end of your visit.
This is ridiculous. No.
Now, listen.
What's the problem here?
This doesn't concern you, sir. Please move along.
Hey, he is my brother. This is fine. Can you believe this? He wants to take my camera.
We don't allow photography of the artist.
Which is a ridiculous rule.
Listen, it's to protect the artist.
You don't think I care about the artists?
Isaac, if he told you to not take pictures of the art, just don't take pictures of the art.
I wasn't.
And I think that'd be really good for our gallery. If you'd be
Interested.
interested.
Could you excuse me for one moment? I have to go deal with something. Sorry.
Okay.
Not taking pictures of the art.
What's going on?
He's trying to take my camera.
Then give him the camera.
No, I shouldn't have to.
Look, you can get it back at the end of your visit. I promise.
Isaac, he's trying to reason with you.
Quit being such an idiot and give him the camera.
No, stop. Stop.
Stop.
Hey,
Let go! Let go! What are you doing?
Isaac.
No, stop.
Isaac,
You don't,
Isaac,
hey,
Isaac,
nothing.
Isaac.
This is not your camera. This is
Children.
mine. It's Mom's camera.
Isaac.
No, let go!
No. Oh. Isaac.
What?
Hey, stop.
This is your fault.
Calm down.
It's always
Stop.
your
Chill
fault.
out.
Oh my God.
Adwin. Sir, if you
Tell
could
me to
just give
calm
us
down.
2 seconds.
You know how
Stop.
important this is to me.
Sir. All right,
God.
calm down. Tell me to
Stop.
calm down.
Stop. Leave
Sir,
me
if
alone.
you could just give us like 2
Isaac.
seconds. Sir.
I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay.
Are you leaving already?
Yes, I have a meeting to attend.
Okay, should we exchange contact information?
Maybe some other time.
Do you think you and Cara will last, like, at all?
Isaac, just because Mom and Dad split up doesn't mean that Cara and I are going to.
All right, you don't know that.
You're right, I don't know that. Is that what you want to hear?
Adwin's moving to LA and you're moving to Michigan?
I did not say that.
I just don't see why you guys can't, you know, stay.
And the three of us just live in my apartment for the rest of our lives? That'd be crazy.
Why?
Well, for one thing, I want to start my own family. And, you know, maybe Adwin will meet someone who's just as obnoxious and sarcastic as she is, and they'll start a family. And,
Yeah, I don't know about that.
and besides, what about you, your photography career? You're just gonna photograph the same 3 people in Virginia forever?
Well, no, I mean, I haven't really thought about that.
It'll be okay. Cara, hi.
Hey, Adwin? Adwin,
What?
how did the meeting go with the recruiter?
She just watched me get into a physical altercation. How do you think it went?
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't.
I know. Why couldn't you have just given him the freaking camera?
ju-
You
I
would have
just
gotten it back.
I don't know. Sorry. Okay, well, maybe you'll run into another recruiter later.
It is what it is, I guess. I'll get over it eventually.
Okay.
No, yeah. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand. I get it. We'll just have to make our next date even more special. Yeah, I love you too. Bye. Hey, so Cara's held up at work. Need a ride home?
Yeah, I think so. So I was kind of thinking, I'm probably gonna go home and buy a new camera, and if you guys need a photographer for your wedding, I'd be more than happy to.
Well, who'd be my best man then?
Isaac.
Oh, I don't.
Isaac,
Thank you. Hey, Adwin.
Thanks, Stacy, for interviewing with us over Zoom. From everyone here at YBTV and in the Department of Communications, we'd like to thank our talented directors for interviewing with us here at YBTV and showcasing their films. Have a great rest of the semester, Messiah, and an even better summer. Good night, everyone.